Yeah, I just wanted to say that you've been one of my biggest role models ever since I started Ubuntu for Humanity. And it's been so inspiring to work with you in Develop Africa in our mission to ensure quality education for the children of the world.
Well, I'm very happy that I played a small role, right? I played a
Oh,
role. Yeah, I mean, it touched, it really touches me to hear that. So thank you. Thank you.
thank you. I wanted to tell you a little about how I started Ubuntu for Humanity.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to hear. I
Yeah,
was going to ask. Please go right ahead.
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. So, when I was in eighth grade, I applied to Harvard's International Relations Scholars Program to
Okay.
learn a little more about foreign policy, and I chose to study sub Saharan Africa.
Oh,
And I
okay.
went in with the standard stereotypes that the region's embroiled in poverty and conflict, but then I
Hmm.
soon realized that sub Saharan Africa, especially the youth of sub Saharan Africa, have so much potential. They just need the resources to make their dreams come to life. So, by the end of that week, I felt compelled to do something and thought of founding Ubuntu for Humanity, which is based on the philosophy of Ubuntu, which means I am because we are. And I really want to thank you for becoming that bridge to help reach these young students and make that dream possible. So, now I would love to know how you thought of founding Develop Africa almost 2 decades ago, and what challenges you had to overcome to make this dream come to reality and reach where Develop Africa is today.
Now I could talk for like 5 hours on in responding to that question. Here's the short answer. So I'm fortunate to come from a very educated my family. My parents got married in the States in 1962. So they were both students studying here at that time. They went back to Sierra Leone. I was born a few years later. So we lived in Sierra Leone where I was born. Then we went to Nigeria for 2 years and Kenya for 2 years and back to Sierra Leone. I then finished my high school. I went to high school and then to college and graduated from college, got married. And then my wife and I, shortly after we got married, my wife was like, well, you should really go and get go ahead and get your master's as well. And it would be wonderful to do that in the US. So I came to the US as an international student in 1995. I started my MBA in 96. And then, you start pursuing the American dream. My wife had come and joined me in the US. She was doing a master's as well. And she went on to get her doctorate in education. And at that point, we had the opportunity to become permanent residents. And we just felt our parents had put in us, we grew up learning what it was like to help people who were in not as good position as we were. We realized that we had education, right? Because my parents took care of my education even right until I finished my undergraduate degree, right? I never, he helped me get a scholarship and, we never struggled, kind of like a middle class family that I lived comparable to that, even though I was in Africa, right? I drove a car. I started driving a car when I was 17, 18 years old. It wasn't my car, but I had access to come home and borrow the car and use it and then take a bus back to college. But I realized there were many kids who did not have access to that. So out of a genuine desire to just try to help others, my wife and I came up with the idea, why don't we start a charity and, help a few kids go to school? So very naively, that's how we started. We registered Develop Africa in 2006. And as they say, the rest is history. So it's really been more like a learning opportunity for us where you very naively say, hey, I'm going to make a difference. And then you start down the road and you start figuring out, okay, this is what I need to do. Okay, this is a definite area where we can help. We felt education was very crucial. We felt that we know people who were not going to school. We've talked to some of our beneficiaries. Like there's a girl called Iseta who was basically helping her mother sell charcoal. And one of the board members, who happened to be one of my classmates in college, says, "Why aren't you going to school?" And she started going to school just because of meeting Janet, who was a board member. So we realized the difference that education makes, and we realized that everybody can relate to that because we know education opens doors, right? And education helps you to get access to things and do more than you could ever do. So that's in a nutshell how we started Develop Africa. And the rest has been just identifying, okay, you're helping somebody go to school. What else do they need? That's a roadblock that could be a barrier to them, getting to their dream position in life. Mosquito nets. Somebody passed away because of malaria. I'm like, oh my goodness, how can we be helping somebody to go to school? Then they passed away because of malaria, right? Like, no brainer, we should do something. So it's been like that, figuring out what are the different roadblocks. And that's how the organization has kind of grown. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. That's so inspiring, and it's so amazing that you were able to take what you saw around you in your community and transform it into something really meaningful that's probably more meaningful in ways that we'll never know about. So, what are some of like the challenges that you came across like during the founding of Develop Africa or like even today? Like what are some obstacles that you need to overcome to ensure the successful operation of Develop Africa?
I think the challenges have more to do with any organization. If you're establishing any organization, let's just take something as simple as procedures. So to make success predictable, there's some things every organization, whether it's a small mom and pop shop, whether it's a Burger King, it's Facebook, they develop standard operating procedures to ensure success, right? You can't just go and decide one day I'm going to make the burger in a different way. No, there's a procedure that you follow for consistency and for best results, like best practices. So one of the challenges I've been facing is how do we develop a culture of best practices where we can make results predictable? So for instance, if we're figuring out, okay, I'm trying to find a good example. Let's just say, for instance, we're taking pictures. This is something we even discussed today in one of our meetings. Sometimes we get high quality pictures. Sometimes the pictures we get back from the team really, they don't showcase the event, or there is no good story behind the event. So if we turn around and want to share that with, somebody like you or with a partner organization, and all we get back are just these pictures and we're scratching our head, okay, what else really happened behind the pictures? So we have to develop a good procedure. Take the pictures in this way, right? We document. The pictures should be, we need to have picture of the beneficiary, something that will tell the story. Are they holding a thank you photo or some kind of a sign which says thank you Ubuntu for human rights, thank you Renaz. So in any organization, we have to develop good procedures because that's what will ensure and make sure you're able to have consistent results. So I think it's kind of universal for any organization. And so that's one of the things that I probably talk about, probably on a weekly basis. So we have a Develop Africa Sierra Leone is registered as a separate organization. Of course, they need to register as a local organization to keep up with local laws. So then the issues which have to do with, what are the procedures there, and what are the things, the policies that we need to put in place. So those are the things that you really, if you're starting an organization, you can probably say, okay, I can do this later on, but as you put more and more structure in, you have to be able to attend and take care of those things.
Yeah, structure is really important. Kind of related to that, how do you and the Develop Africa team like make sure that your work is being known to other people, like the public relations and marketing, so to say, aspect of it? Like, how do you get that out into the world?
I think there's lots of opportunities for us to do better than we're doing. We get every week there are people who are reaching out to us, who are finding us online. I think we've been able to build a following because we put a lot of content on the website and Google likes content. And so, but I realize we don't do very much in terms of outgoing marketing and maybe reaching out to new people to let them know. We realize there's opportunities for us to do better in that area, but most of our strategy has been, in a sense, not very proactive. Like we generate the content, we try to tell the story better. So I'm hoping we can do better and better and be able to tell the story and put it out there. And then we really need to come up with a better marketing strategy in saying, how can we find people who like Ubuntu for humanity, like yourself, who are interested in making a difference, but are looking for a partner organization to work with. So that's something, hey, maybe you might have some ideas and we can talk some more about that and work out a strategy to do better in that area.
No, I think you guys are doing great. Like, I've seen so many of your YouTube videos. It's pretty much almost every day. I'm subscribed to the channel. And then
Yeah.
also, like, just like the email newsletters, all of it's really great. And I wanted to be able to learn a little bit from that. So I still remember also through Develop Africa, I learned about Salamatu, who was a single mother and needed our help attending a university in Sierra Leone. And her story really resonated with me and inspired me even more to help such students who are committed to receiving an education despite all of the challenges that life throws at them. Now, you must have come across thousands of such students at Develop Africa, but is there any one in particular that still stands out in your mind that you felt really needed your help?
I think the two people, Isata is one of them, and these are two people that I met that I'm going to read. I think you may read the stories as well, but when you get to meet the person when you get to meet them in person, right, you're able to talk to them, ask them a few questions. It helps you to connect a bit further with them behind just watching a picture or video. So Isata is somebody, for instance, that I mentioned that I've actually met in person who, I think, and of course, reading her story and see how far she's come. We've supported her for maybe 10 or 12 years at least. I think it really helps to be able to see how they, like a before and an after picture. Not that she's done, but you can see some progression in how far she's been able to come. And that really kind of warms your heart that you think, what would her life have been like if we had not run across, we had not crossed paths, so to speak. And it's something that really, motivates me. So, many days when I wake up, I even think about it and I think, okay, this is another day. It's another opportunity to be able to do something where, um, you know, there's a there's a quote from a movie called The Shawshank Redemption, I
Oh
think is
yeah.
what it's called. And
Hmm.
this, I don't remember which character says that get busy living or get busy dying. So for me, it's a sense of I need to get busy living because I'm in a position where, I mean, if you think about it, like, who am I? I'm just somebody who just very naively decided many years ago that I was going to start something. And when I look at, of course, over the years, I've put in a lot of time. I've made like some sacrifices to be able to get the organization where it's at. But on a day like this, I can look back and say, when I wake up in the morning, I need to get busy living because what I'm doing really counts and is making a difference in the lives of others. So it's almost like I feel um, like somebody said to me, people are praying for you to live long because if you live long, they're going to benefit from it because you're just making an impact, so to speak. I hope that kind of makes sense. So I'm really very thankful for it. And I was telling my son, I'm like, who am I? I'm really just, if you look at it, like I think I'm just a regular guy. I wasn't in, I think but I'm just somebody who, I don't know, maybe I was just in the right place at the right time and just put in the time, consistency. I would say that to anybody who's doing a nonprofit, it's the consistency that counts. In anything you're doing, I mean, whether it's academics, it's exercise, you just have to do it consistently and eventually the results will show.
Yeah, well, that's so amazing. And really more inspiring than you know, even if you think you're an ordinary person. And I've heard somewhere that extraordinary people are just ordinary people who do extraordinary things. So thank you for being such an extraordinary role model for all of us.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. I know we kind of touched on this a bit earlier, but what are some of the biggest barriers that you see that often prevent children in Sierra Leone from getting a quality education? Like, for example, most people wouldn't think much of solar lamps, but in areas without steady electricity, they can be really important for students to keep studying at night. So, what do you think are some important but often overlooked resources that kids need to pursue their education?
Definitely the solar lights, like you said, it's often overlooked. People don't really think about it and how much of a difference it makes. I can tell you personally, like even when I was in college, I had to use like a kerosene light because of power cuts. And it's sad that so we're talking about, so I finished my high school. This will kind of date me. So you can tell this was several years ago. I went to college in 1983. And I can tell you that a year or two before then, I had to use like a kerosene lantern to study because of power cuts. So if the light goes off and you have a test or an exam tomorrow, and
Hmm.
you just like to go over some things, even though it's not the ideal situation, you say, okay, I'm going to make do for an hour or two. So that's definitely one resource which is not talked about enough, right? A lot of people don't think about that. We know about things like, of course, tuition, and it would amaze you how many people delay their education or whatever they're pursuing. Even some simple things, because they don't have the tuition to cover it. And in many situations, would it be simply like, okay, here are the list of the people who are accepted. You go there, you see your ID number, it's there. And you have a deadline date which you have to make a payment. And there's nothing like, okay, guess what? I'm going to fill out the FAFSA form. I'm going to apply for financial aid because that's not a thing there. So basically, if your parents can find the money, you start classes. If they don't, you're basically out. So sad to say, but that's the reality.
Hmm.
So definitely solar lights. Mosquito nets as well helps. I guess there's other things like, maybe a lot of the teachers or professors, particularly when you get into college, they almost require that you purchase a copy of their study notes. So let's just say they are using a textbook, but the teacher has put his own study guide and study notes, right? And he expects you to purchase that. And he says, hey, guess what? It's going to cost you some extra money to be able to get a PDF copy of those notes or a hard copy of those notes, where it's to your advantage. So there are many other little things but if I had to choose one, I would say solar lights.
Yeah, that's really discouraging. But I'm so glad that developed Africa has been able to tackle disparities in education from all sides and from so many different angles, not only by providing sponsorships and school supplies for students, but also by funding teachers' salaries and putting an emphasis on digital education with like computer labs and robotics training, and also building the Kamawarni Nursery School to get students started early on their educational journey. And it's given me so much happiness and a feeling of fulfillment to think that I could have even a small part in helping these projects come to life.
So
So, as the founder and president of Develop Africa, what are some of the projects that have meant the most to you and have given you the most fulfillment over the years?
I think computer training is something that I'm putting together an article where I'm planning. I've already started a draft. I'm hoping to share that in the next couple of weeks on the very outside of month on how we got started with computer training.
Mhm.
And so I have some pictures from the very first computer training that we held, right? I was basically going on vacation and I said, you know what? I know a little Word and Excel, and I can teach anybody who's never used a computer how to use Word and Excel. So we found a makeshift computer lab where there were like maybe 4 or 6 computers, and I had my first training session. I still have those pictures, and I can send you a link, and it'll be included in the story. But I really think um, proficiency in the use of computers is such a vital tool because you need to be proficient, not just, hey, I know how to use a computer, I can type, but the more proficient you are with computers, the better you'll be able to, whether it's you're studying for medicine, you're trying to, whether it's you're filling out a form, a job application, you're putting together your resume. I mean, so it really it's like if you have a foundation you can walk on, then the computer just becomes a tool. You're not even thinking about it. You're just whizzing through, right? Because you're so proficient at it. So I think that's one of the things which really I was thinking of writing the article why computer training is better than sliced bread. Something catchy like that, which
Yeah,
would really tell you like this is really something very important that we sometimes take for granted. And it gives me joy to be able to see people who come in who have never used a computer before. And then after like a 3 or 6 month period of time, they can use Word and Excel.
that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and computer training is so important, especially in this day and age, because there's no going back. There's only going forward with
Hmm.
technological advances. So
Absolutely.
it's really important that people can use like even basic computer skills because that's like the foundation that's going to be essential for the next 40 or 50 years unless it's replaced by like other new technology that we have no idea about.
Really. Probably not going to go away.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. I also feel like sponsoring teachers is really important because teachers are the core of our education system. But if they are underpaid and overworked, then the whole system is going to eventually fall apart. So, not only supporting students, but also uplifting teachers is really important for me if we want to reform the education system and build the leaders of the future. So, I would love to get more involved in funding teachers' training and supporting them more in general.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. We're very happy that you helped us with that.
Mhm.
We do have a video and link to some pictures of the concluded training. Amy has already sent me a draft, and I'll be sending that to you shortly. And I think it's great for us to be able to do more of that. What we are planning to do in the next month or two is to invite, so there are, I don't know if we sent you a link to the approximate location of Kamawani, but it is like 150 miles away from Freetown, the capital city.
Oh,
And
wow.
we've never tried to do, it's considered very rural. We've never tried to do like a Zoom call from there. So what we're hoping to do is to bring them into Freetown, the capital city, where we have a very good internet connection.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
then they can do like Zoom training. So I have a friend of mine who teaches at a college in Toronto, and he has a PhD in early childhood education. So he's available to teach them. So we'll basically have to just figure out, like, pay the transportation to come to town, give them a stipend, find somewhere for them to stay. So we're definitely going to continue to do that. And our goal for them is to probably get like a HTC, which is like a higher teacher training certificate or something, so that they'll be well grounded in the discipline and whatever they need to do to, as far as teacher training is concerned. So we'll definitely share some more information on that with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I also wanted to let you know that as I start working with Bank of America next week for an internship, by the end of June, I should have raised more funds that I would love to direct to some of your projects. And recently, I came across a project to support the expenses of your computer lab that provides 133 girls with computer training. And I thought that was extremely inspiring. So, is that project like monthly expenses or like just operational costs in general or like training for computers?
I don't remember which one you're talking to, whether it was on Donosy. It's probably like it may actually specify that. So we send somebody out to the computer lab. So we currently have 3 computer labs. This will be in the story that the update that I'm planning to put on. One of them is at an office, and I should have a video which I'll send you a link. One of the trips I made there, I actually did like a walk through the office, so you can kind of see the computer lab. I just kind of like had somebody follow me with a camera. Very kind of impromptu, because he was like, okay, I'm just going to go walk through, and I didn't really plan it, but it'll give you an idea of the layout. Then there is the Farwick Girls Computer Lab, which is a separate one at a school. So those expenses are like, just like we're paying it. Like, for instance, if you take, for instance, the computer lab we have, that location and pretty much most of Freetown, there's one time where there was like no power. We didn't have any power in the office for over 2 to 3 weeks. Just imagine an environment like that where, like, so we ran like, fortunately we have a really generator which provides more power than we need. But of course, there's significant expenses that go along with keeping a generator on for how many, 8 or 9 hours a day. Like, of course we turn it off when they're going home at 5 or 6 o'clock. But those expenses are like, so we're talking about paying for the teacher, the staff, and then transportation if they're going to another location and back. And, so those are the expenses that we're looking at.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I would love to help out with that. I also recently saw videos on your YouTube channel about Develop Africa's initiative to mentor students through debate. And I wanted to let you know that at my school, I've been involved with the speech and debate club since my freshman year, and I'm also
Oh,
president of the school's club. So, debate has been very meaningful to me in my high school journey, and it's been so inspiring to see Develop Africa's mentoring sessions for youth. So, could you please tell me more about these sessions and if there's a way that I could potentially get involved in mentoring these youth?
Wonderful. Um, I think it would be amazing for us to plan a session, right? I haven't seen, we haven't finalized the schedule on what we're doing as far as like mentoring, which we really should have by this time. Um, but I'm really talking about what would happen like in the summer or after the summer. But I think it would be wonderful if we could organize a session. We'd have to find maybe a couple different topics where like you could sit down and talk with them. And I think they would be motivated just to kind of listen to you. You could share from your background, your experience, right? And then something which would, um, I mean, we'd have to brainstorm and kind of see like what would be like most meaningful to them and also to you, like what you could learn. So it could be an interactive session. It could be something with just you, or if you want to bring one or two other members of your team, right? And then of course it'd be like a Zoom session. So let's kind of talk some more about that. But definitely we can brainstorm on some ideas on what will be covered in the session.
Yeah, so about Zoom, you said that Freetown has a really good internet connection. So for like the students, like where you are, is it mostly in Kamawarni and there's some in Freetown? Or like where is it distributed?
Mostly in Freetown, the capital city. But then we realized that we needed to also focus on some other areas which are outside because a lot of the resources, you know, the people in the rural areas, they get less access to resources. So we needed to be able to say, hey, these areas are more in need and we need to do also reach out to them. So we have some of our students in Kamawoni, we have some in a couple in McKinney and another town called Bio. So, but I would say at least maybe about 50% of them are in Freetown.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In the
Yeah, that's
greater Freetown. Freetown is over 1 million people, so it's not like a small city.
yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So, Mr. Sylvester, this has been such an amazing conversation, and I've been looking forward to it for a long time, and I'm still blown away by all the work that you and the team at Develop Africa do to empower youth with the resources they need to succeed. So, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so inspired, and I'm really grateful for all the work that you do.